Hello everyone, and welcome back to Factorio C Block. I'm Bobbin, and you are watching episode 2 of my Factorio C Block series. I am currently at 1 hour and 17 minutes into the playthrough. That means that I have taken about 50 minutes of time doing nothing but manning these machines, trying to get some stuff made. And I want to do that off camera for the most part so that you don't have to watch me stand around and crush ore by hand. That is not exciting, and the whole point of the game is to automate. But before we can automate, we have to actually go through some of this initial stuff. And it's a little bit longer process in C Block than it is in vanilla. So I have a few goals for this episode. One of those goals is I want to go ahead and try to get the basics of some automation going. That means I'm going to have to do a little bit of research, and it means I'm going to have to lay out a little bit more land area, and so on. And so I've been accumulating some landfill. Looks like I've got about, what is that, 420 of them at the moment. So I want to take and lay on some more land and move a few power poles and get some space going here. Let me go ahead and make sure that my crafting of fuel continues while I do that. Now I'll just start. I'm going to go ahead and start by finishing squaring everything up. So let's finish the strip. Alright, we finished that. And the next thing I'm going to do is, if we take a close look at one of these power poles here and look at the coverage area, we can see that each power pole supplies coverage for 6 windmills, and there's a little bit of wasted space in the middle. It is possible to fix up some of that wasted space so that there's not as much of it, but it really is a pretty complicated layout to do that, and I don't want to take the time to do it because the difference is pretty small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a new spot for windmills. And rather than extend this in the block as it has been before, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got a 5 by 5 block here, which is the same area that's covered by a windmill or by a power pole. And I'm just going to make a long strip of these. And I think I'm going to make it in the downward direction, simply so I can get a little closer to some of those other islands over there. So let's just make a long strip here to start moving windmills on. And I'm not going to go ahead and use up all of my landfill just yet. I probably will before it's all said and done, but I'm not going to do that just yet because I want to, if there's a possibility of having some extra, then I want to have that option open, and I don't want to do a long computation to figure out exactly how much of that I need. So that looks to be about as far as I can go here at the moment. Let's make 2 more spots so that we can be sure that we can get as many windmills as possible there before committing some substantial additional resources. Let's go pick up a lot of these windmills and move them over there. And this has stopped, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the crushed stone out of it. While I'm here, why don't I just go ahead and make another one of those? Well, I've got some fuel in production. I'm going to need another crusher because one of those crushers can basically exactly do what these 2 electrolyzers output. That is fairly obvious from manning it for a while. It's not the result of a calculation, although certainly you could calculate it. But of course I can't sit there constantly and man it to make sure that nothing ever stops, and so without that it does gradually fill up my inventory with more materials than I want. Alright, that takes care of those. We'll start coming down the other side. Okay, let's get some more of these. So many windmills. The windmills are kind of nice though because they're free power, and I will probably use a lot more of them. Free power is kind of a little bit of a misleading term. They don't consume any resources to generate power, but whether or not that really matters sort of depends on how you define the boundary of the power producing system that you're looking at. That may be a very technical way of putting it, but you can go and imagine, for example, that your steam power production doesn't use any slag, for example, by going and saying, well, we're just going to include the electrolyzers as part of the system. Alrighty, let's go and put some more. Alright, so how are we doing down here? We can actually see these. There's some trees here, so I could actually get some wood. May not want to do that just yet. It doesn't matter that much, but it's not a priority. Okay, so I do have a little more space here. Let's go ahead and remove some of the stuff in the middle. Some extra power poles, just pick them back up. Alright, so let's look at the tech tree first, because it sort of defines some of the objectives. I want to be able to automate. And by automate, I mean specifically I want to be able to automate production of metal, landfill, and wood pellets. And I'm going to need some technologies for that. The most important two that come up in any Factorio play at all, really, are automation and logistics. Logistics has an additional bonus in this one, in that it does provide us with the Deadlocks compact loader that I mentioned in last episode that I had added as a mod. That's a very nice thing to have. It's like I said, probably the cheatiest thing in this mod pack, but we're going to use it, and we're going to get it soon. The other one that I want to add is sort of debatable as to whether you really want it to be a high priority. I do, and that is the mechanical refining. And the reason I want the mechanical refining as soon as possible is to get the ore crusher. Now, you don't have to have the ore crusher. You can continue to use the burner one, but if you do, then you're going to have to make separate arrangements to keep it fueled, and that's kind of a hassle. So I would rather not do that, actually. So that is the other technology that I want. We're going to start with setting up some metal production, I think, because without metal we can't make any research packs. I've got just enough copper to make, how many of them here? 8 of them. That's not going to do me any good. So let's go, now that I've gone and set some of that stuff up and made a little space, and rearrange some of this stuff. I don't need the green algae farm just yet. Don't need this. And I'll pick all this stuff up. Now, what I'm actually going to do by the end of the episode, I hope, if not early in the next episode, I want to set up a separate production line, at least in sort of a theoretical sense, for each of these things. One production line for metal, one for landfill, one for wood pellets. And I'm going to sort of isolate them all from one another. Each one is going to have its own electrolyzer. This is not how you'll see most people set it up. It doesn't matter that much, really. But I do want to go ahead and set it up in some way that makes it nice and separated, at least in principle. Now, I don't actually necessarily mean for them to be totally isolated. I may manually move some slag around to give some priority from one to the other. And it may be, for example, since one crusher will crush the output of 2 electrolyzers, that I may go and like join the streams together and then split them apart again later for crushing, so that it uses fewer machines. But that's sort of the plan here. So let's get started on it. I'm going to want one more electrolyzer, and that is under petrochemical refining. And I picked these up because I want to add just a little bit more space between them. I want 2 spaces between them instead of 1. That will allow me to move a couple more windmills. Not really a permanent solution for anything, but I can just sort of tuck some in there in that extra space. You have to have at least 1 space between them to get the pipes not to join together on the outside. So this is just another way of taking advantage of it, packing in a little more space. I'm not going to be terribly space efficient in this playthrough, but that is one way that I'll do something with it. Okay, I also want to make another burner ore crusher so that I can sort of speed up my crushing, because with 3 electrolyzers in place, I won't be able to crush all the ore that I'm producing. So let's see, let's copy that recipe there, and we'll hook this one back up while we're waiting. So hydrogen goes up there, and then down there, and eventually I'll pick up the other piece on that. And oxygen goes up there, down there. And we'll extend this line. Alrighty, it finished the electrolyzer. Let's see, 1, 2, 1 and 1, 2. Connect there, connect there, copy the recipe, bring some power down, and we are started there. Let's go ahead and pull up a couple of windmills over here and put them in the middle. Eventually these will be in the way and they'll just get moved somewhere else, but by then I'll be ready to start setting up new electrolyzer facilities. Okay, so I want to go ahead and get, I do have inserters available, so I'm not necessarily committed to not using them. In the long term I don't want to use them, but right now I'm not using all my power, so that's fine. When I say the long term I don't want to use them, I don't want to use them as my first choice for pulling things out. Okay, so I've got these 2 burner things. Let's put one can I get it there? Yeah, and one there. And for now we'll just go ahead and use inserters in those locations. Pick crushed stone, and I'll go ahead and toss some of that in there. And we'll go ahead and, let's see, more crushed stone here. And these do need power, and the power in the middle there can't reach them, so there we go. Now that, actually they don't need power at all, do they? The inserters need power though. These need fuel. Just put 100 in there and less than 100 in there, that's fine. Okay, so one of these I'm going to need to eventually produce metal with. I don't really see a good way to avoid. It's going to have to be moved out just a little bit at some point. So let's go ahead and put in, let's see, I need a liquefier. I want to set up metal production because I've got to have metal for research. So I'm gonna need a liquefier, and I'm gonna put it probably a little bit further out here. Maybe we'll go here. And that liquefier is going to output to a crystallizer directly. I'll just put it there. And the crystallizer is going to be making the metal ore, and this is going to be making mineralized water. Alright, so that's going to take care of that when it's ready. I'm going to go ahead and make a second water pump. At the moment, iron is not a terribly scarce resource. It will become so, but they gave quite a bit to begin with, so I'm going to go ahead and make the additional pump here because I will need it eventually. So we have that in there. This is all powered now. I can go ahead and start my metal production just by doing that. I'm going to need another crusher. but I may wait until I get my research done to make it. So let's keep pulling this stuff out. And I can use it to make landfill for the moment, just to keep the supply down a little bit. I do want to produce metals with quite a bit of it. Oh, I cleared the recipe. I always get the buttons wrong on those. Okay. Now the other production chain, let's see, I'm going to have to start a production chain for landfill. I can't really do that until I have some research done. Let's go ahead and start what research we can here. I've got, I thought I had like 8 of those packs. Where'd they go? Oh, I have enough copper to make 8. I don't actually have 8 of them. Let's go ahead and start that. Alright, I'm going to smelt. For the moment it's going to be by hand, so I'll just pop that down. Put some wood pellets in it for fuel. Pull that out. Hand crushing ore. Where is that? It's in here. Copper is the important one at the moment, but I can go ahead and crush the iron too. Alright, let's go ahead and put that in there. And let's select a research. You know, normally I'd probably research automation first, but I think I want to do logistics first. Let's see, that's 20 and that one's 10. No, maybe I'll do automation first. It's cheaper, so I can get it done sooner. Okay. Some of these they've both run out of stuff to crush, so we're good on that. Always doing that. Alright. It's hitting shift instead of control when you click it to pull the stuff out of it. If I do that, it clears the recipe. Alright, we'll go ahead and put that in there, start crushing some more stuff. Alright, so I'm probably going to go, not probably, I am going to cut, and I will be back when I actually have this particular piece of research done. Okay, automation just finished. Let's go ahead and tell it to start the next one. The next one is going to be logistics, so we'll hit research on that. I did go ahead during the break and move some more windmills, put just a little more landfill down at the bottom there. I have a nice pile of landfill at the moment. That's kind of nice. I'll be able to expand here in just a bit. So let's take and get some more of these research packs going if I have the metal for them. I do. Oh, I have to remember to keep feeding this thing. That's kind of obnoxious. Let's go ahead and make that just a little easier using some inserters maybe. I hope these sit in the box for a while. I do. When we get logistics done, this will change quite a bit. Alright. Hand crushing ore. Hand crushing ore. Where is it? Right there. And pulling stuff out of here, popping it in here. There's a reason I want to be able to automate this. It's awful doing it this way. What? Oh. Put that in there. And there we go. Did it again. Okay. It's not a huge loss, it's just an annoyance. Alright, so the other thing, I guess maybe to make some more space up here while we're kind of waiting on some of this stuff, let me go ahead and start making some more packs. But while we're waiting on that, let's go down and build a little more land and move even more windmills down here. Because I really just don't want to have them in the main part of the base if I can avoid it. So this island right here sort of intercepted a little bit. I intersected the island, and so it spared me a little bit of landfill. I don't want to go so far that I run into a worm island. I don't think there's one immediately below here. There's one kind of down there, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. Just a little bit further down here, I think we'll take care of all of that. Alright, and we'll go up top and take the main island windmills up, and it'll go on. I wanted to go ahead and mention, I guess, the amount of power you get from these windmills. I don't know what their power performance is exactly. I think it probably averages over the long term about 10 kilowatts, something like that. The 120 windmills you're given to begin with will definitely run 3 electrolyzers running at 300 kilowatts with power to spare for other machines. You can, most of the playthroughs that I've seen other people doing actually use 4 electrolyzers from the very beginning, and that's not necessarily a problem. You do start to have brownouts when you do that and have some additional machines. It's not serious, it's just things slow down a little bit. I don't really want to do that. I don't plan on playing this on the bleeding edge of maximizing my throughput at all points, because that does lead to more power problems. There will be power problems, and it may be a little bit of a struggle to keep up sometimes, but I can't see making more of them than I really have to. Okay, that turned out just right. This tree over here gives wood, and there are 2 of them on there. Get more gardens, get more wood. I've actually chopped down another tree as well, so 3 total. You get this desert tree. If you get those early, do hang on to them. They're for making tree seed generators later on in the game, and you can use that as an alternate source of wood for power. Okay, so we do have a little more space there. We'll toss these in here and pull all that out, tell it to make some more, crush up some more, wherever that is. There we go. Maybe make another stone furnace too while we're at it. We're going to need another one eventually anyway. Alright, and we'll put that here and put some of our pellets in it and start smelting the iron as well. The iron is not going to be critical. We were given a whole lot of iron to start with. That will eventually run out, but for the moment I'm not just prioritizing replacing it. Copper we started with none of, so that's the more important one. Keeping it stocked. Probably ought to just stand here until I've stuffed it all through there, because it does consume it pretty fast. One of the things about the loaders is that they're able to stuff the materials into an inventory as fast as they come down a belt, which is good for something like this where you would actually need to completely surround it with inserters to be able to keep it going at that clip. Let's expand the island just a little bit. Maybe some along the top and the edge here. That will not be a problem unless I move it, but if I move it, it'll just take a few more pipes. Alright, and there we go. Don't think this will make it to the top, but it might. Not quite. And stuff that in there. Hand crushing ore. Alright, we finished logistics. Next up is mechanical refining. This will probably be the last research that I do for a little bit, because I will need to get production for other things up for a while. So this is probably the last one that I'm really going to focus on in the short term. The next series of them will probably be like chemistry and coal processing to make sure that I can start boosting up my power using boilers. Alright, so I am going to want a bunch of belts and some of these standard compact loaders. And I'm making more than I will need right now. I will eventually need them all. So we'll keep making this while that stuff finishes producing, and then we'll do more of an automated setup here. Also, why don't I go ahead, I know for making landfill I'm going to need an assembling machine. I will also need an assembling machine for the wood pellets, probably more than one of them, but we'll see. I'll just go ahead and make one for now, or one additional one, 2 total. So copper and smelting copper, smelting iron, pull the iron out, make some more science packs. Don't have any in my inventory at the moment. One of the other advantages of using the loaders over inserters is that they allow you to overstuff a machine. The inserter will stop loading stuff in it when the machine is full on the specific items, and it'll just sit there and stall, whereas the other one will keep pushing stuff into it even if it overstuffs it. And that's really kind of a preferred behavior for the scenario that we're working through right now. Alright. Okay, so we have our belts and our... so let's pull this loose and we'll pick up the stuff. You're supposed to remove the inserter first, but I never remember. Don't need that. So let's go ahead and put the loader down there. The default behavior on this thing is to set it for input. You can sort of see the arrows on the front of it and the direction the belt is running. If we do that, then it's for output. And I'm just going to put another one down facing the other direction on the other side. And then we'll put our burner ore crusher back down here and set the recipe. And it should... I'll have to flip this around. Okay, so now it's just inserted. It's pulling the stuff straight out of here and stuffing it in there. And then it's just so much better at that than an inserter. And so we're off to the races there. I'll do something similar here. Let's go ahead and set this one up. We'll go ahead and put that down there and get it all set up and going. Alright, so stuff coming off of these two at least is crushing automatically now. Now I want to take my crushed ore off of here and put it in here so that I can start my metals production. And of course I cleared the recipe again. Let's go ahead and do the same thing from there to there. And we'll pull that out. And now it's going. And it will go as fast as these machines work. It doesn't consume any power. Like I said before, this is probably the single cheatiest thing of any of the packs that I added. And I did add some that I suspect will get some comments if any of you choose to comment on that. But I just think it's such a nice quality of life difference when you do it this way. Okay, so science packs. Let's get this mechanical refining going. Now, the next process here is going to be landfill. So let's go ahead and start with some landfill setup here. Actually, you know, I'll fix it later. Let's go ahead and set that up there. Did I? Oh, you can't rotate that way. I did finish my assembling machines. We'll put one down there. Set this one to make sand. And power it up. Don't need that power pole, but we do need one somewhere. That's not quite right. So I'm going to have to use two of them. Just do it that way. So this is going to have fuel, and it's off to the races. So we're now going to start automatically producing landfill. And I can go ahead, this process is so fast that it's far faster than this crusher works. So I can just take and stuff some extra in there. We get going with more research. Alright, and this last one, I'm not going to make the crusher yet, but I know what I'm going to do with it. It's going to be making wood pellets. So that's going to be a little bit elaborate, and I think we're getting close to the end of time on this episode. So let me just go ahead and say thank you for watching, and we'll pick it up in the next episode.